not just for the sake of protecting your wallet. I mean, that's the context of what we're talking about here. But if you think about the impact that these transactions have, saying no, but let's do something else, I think it can lead to a more meaningful interaction and really help you get more so, maybe I'm going completely off topic here, but getting more so into the spirit of Christmas.
Welcome to 360 Money Matters, where financial planners Billy and Andrew talk all things financial planning. This podcast aims to increase your knowledge and confidence with all things money. Each week, they will cover topics like wealth creation strategies, investment principles, creating passive income, paying off your debt faster, and much, much more, so you can live a life on your terms without limits.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the 360 Money Matters podcast. I'm Billy and I'm joined by my co-host,
Andrew. Bills, here we are, back again and back at the end of the year.
Andrew, and you know what? Spreading some Christmas cheer.
Exactly right. I feel like we should have some jingle bells going on as we intro this episode.
We'll tell the team, the editing team, maybe they can do a bit of jingle bell theme or something like that. So anyway, before we get derailed, Andrew, what are we talking to everybody about today?
Like we start every episode like that. Before we get derailed.
Not before we get derailed, before we get more derailed.
Yeah, exactly right. Once you're off the tracks though, you're already off. Yeah. There's nothing you can do. So to try and bring us back on and bring everyone up to speed as to what we're alluding to today, we are talking all about, Christmas cheer, great, but making sure that Christmas cheer isn't met with a Christmas hangover regret.
I thought you were going to say Christmas tears because it rhymes. Christmas cheer, Christmas tear. Yeah.
Should have done it.
Yep. Shoulda, coulda, woulda, didn't.
Yeah, we're already a minute and a half in. If we weren't, I would have said let's re-record, but don't care enough.
It's because it's about the quality of what we're going to talk to people about, which is not overspending at Christmas.
Yeah, exactly right. Thank you. Right. Thank you for getting that out. Took us a few minutes to get that one out.
Nice.
But yeah, look, we tend to do an episode like this pretty much every year, and I think that it's probably more relevant now than it almost ever has been. I think that, 2% interest rates and inflation hovering between that 2 to 3% band, it's a little bit easier to let loose on Christmas and not feel like you need to be, quite so conscious around your budgets. Maybe you can take a, bit of a break from budgeting as well. But, at the moment, it's obviously a lot tougher for, a lot of families. And so making sure that you're not overspending, making sure that you're not, ruining your finances over the Christmas period is far more relevant this year than probably it ever has been.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good call. And the starting point for us, it's pretty straightforward, but we say it all of the time, is make sure you've got your budget in place. So I think really a couple of things with that is, from a household expenditure perspective, making an allocation in your budget for gifts and sticking to it is really critical, but also the other side of that is making sure that you've got a household budget anyway. But in this instance, we're talking about having a budget for a realistic budget for gifts, specifically Christmas gifts, but sticking to it, being realistic and not getting caught up. I'll talk about this a little bit later, but not getting caught up in the hype of it all, because it's really easy to just buy stuff that's going to end up in landfill or recycling. There, I said it.
Yeah.
And
just
going through this whole purchasing season, just unconsciously just purchasing crap and not really thinking about it.
Yeah.
And thinking about who you're going to give it to and just doing it for the sake of doing it.
Yeah, exactly right. And look, sometimes what it can also mean is when you're already in the spending mode, it's easy to just add some additional spending on top of it. So what I'm talking about is, all right, you're at the shops, you're doing your Christmas shopping, you're doing all of that stuff. And while you're there, you've already spent money. What's another, shirt for myself? What's another this? What's another that? It's a lot easier when the floodgates have opened to
when the momentum's there.
Yeah, exactly right.
Sounds like if you're going out for drinks. I'm going to be hungover tomorrow.
Yeah, what's another one?
Yeah, exactly right.
But look, I think a gift saving account, whether it's for just for Christmas, but if you can factor that into your budget, it's a game changer. Like, you don't even need to think about, where's the money going to come from, or, does the savings or offset account take a hit over the period? It's there. And there's also a cap that's associated with it. So if you can account for it, and there's not much that you can do about it this year, because you're not going to build your savings account in, a month. But if you can do it, for next year, or you can have a savings account that's going to account for not just Christmas, but also, there's an account that's going to do birthdays, that's going to do, all of the other events that you're, gift giving to. It can make it a lot easier. Yeah,
and look, a real simple one is, say, $20 a week, right? Yeah. So I reckon $20 a week is a good figure that's pretty achievable. It's $1,000 a year. So if you plan with that, with enough foresight in mind, and you start at, say, now for next year, and I'm certain that we spoke about this last year, but if you do that, then you don't have to find that $1,000 this time next year to then pay for the Christmas presents that you're going to buy. Exactly right.
Yeah. Exactly right. And tracking your spending.
Yep.
I mean, as I said, when you're tapping and going and you don't have a set amount of cash that you need to, I've got to go withdraw because I've already spent it all. You kind of don't have that mental block of, hey, I've overspent what I anticipated, or you don't have that savings account to tell you, I've overspent. So actually track what you're spending on Christmas presents and making sure that, it keeps you on track.
Yep. Same sort of thing, Andrew. If we extend that a little bit further, stay away from credit.
Yeah.
So if you can stay away from things like Afterpay and credit cards, because you're just deferring the problem and kicking the can down the road, and once again, you're spending money that you don't have.
Yeah.
It can compound, depending on where it is. If you don't pay it back, by the time it's due, you start to pay interest on it, so it gets more and more expensive. But if you can get into the habit of being, organised and doing some of the things that we're talking about, then you stay away from credit and you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. I mean, I think that it's just, it's a principle that you should follow, at all times of year, but this is an expensive time of year for everyone. It's not just Christmas presents. It's also, all of a sudden there's after work drinks. All of a sudden people are heading out more because the weather's nicer and you're doing more things. So it can be a really easy time to just, let's, just chuck it on credit. Let's, put it on Afterpay or a service that you don't necessarily feel the hit now when it makes sense financially because I'm not paying interest on it. And if I make these repayments and that, the money sits in my savings or offset for longer, then it's better. But it just makes it so much harder to track. And once you're in that mindset, it's difficult to shift out of it. So you do it over this period, and then what's to stop you from doing it in February, March, April?
Yeah, it becomes a habit. It becomes a clutch. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly right.
Do your shopping early. So really,
I love the story about what you did on on Christmas Eve.
So I did the total opposite. Let me get this point out, and then I'll tell everybody just quickly what I ended up doing. But so do your shopping early for a couple of reasons. If you're doing it early, at least you get to spread the cost over a longer period of time. And if you're doing the shopping early, you're not as rushed, which ties in nicely to my story. So you can be more thoughtful around the purchases. And I don't mean thoughtful around finding a gift that's appropriate, but thoughtful around how much you're spending and finding something that works for that person within the budget that you've allocated.
Yeah.
So just digressing, that's what you should do. What I did one year, because I absolutely hate going to the shops, and I hate this idea of, you do your Christmas shopping and then you're like, oh geez, I forgot a present for this person, or I forgot a present for that person. You've got to go, and it's just, you end up going 3 or 4 times. There's car parks, it's summer, it's hot. It's just bad. So what I did one year, Andrew, is I left my Christmas shopping till the night before. It was Christmas Eve. And my theory was that I had no time and I just didn't care what I bought.
Pressure makes diamond, Billy.
So it was pressure makes diamond. So literally I just burned through the shop. It was like an hour and a half, and bought a whole heap of crap to be realistic. but it was like ripping off a Band-Aid. It was just done in a really short period of time. This is way before,
an expensive Band-Aid.
This is way before you could get organised with online shopping and all that sort of stuff. But anyway, I did do that. Don't do that because they were all shit presents. My family ended up getting a whole heap of stuff that went into landfill or recycling. So just don't do that. But if you start early, I think you can be a little bit more organised in terms of your spend, and the quality of the presents much better.
Yeah. And regifting. I mean, there's another idea for people to not necessarily have to, outlay money in order to be able to still give a gift. I mean, not to say that you want to gift your crap and things that you don't like, but it's one of those things where, hey, you get a gift, it's really thoughtful, it's nice, but it's just not to your taste or not something that is, to your style, then great, put it in a cupboard. Like, just because you don't like it doesn't mean that it needs to end up in landfill. It can be something that someone else would appreciate. Have a cupboard that's, there, set aside. At any point in time, you can go in there and, either at Christmas time or at another point in time and say, hey, I actually think that so-and-so would like this present. Great. Pick it out of there, and it doesn't mean that you need to make an expense for that gift. So that's another one.
No, I really like that idea, Andrew. And this next one is a great one. And I'm just thinking through this as you were talking before, but giving different gift alternatives. So one year what we did as a family is we turned around and said, okay, we're not going to give gifts to people individually. What we're going to do is we're going to take the money that we would have gifted to everyone and we're going to pool it together, and we did a family holiday.
Amazing.
And that holiday to this day stands out as one of the, other than when I was a child and getting presents from Santa and you name it, that stands out as my best Christmas holiday yet. Because it was the experience, it wasn't the material things of receiving a present. So that's a great idea. The second one, and I kind of secretly hope that my mum is listening or watching this, is that
she's our only viewer, Billy.
Well, because so mum will usually give me a voucher for Christmas, and I'll go and spend it on whatever, a t-shirt or whatever it is, right? But I'd get so much more value if she turned around and say, Billy, I'm going to take you out for lunch or dinner or whatever it is, and just spend some time together. Because that would just, the truth is, I'm a 39-year-old man. If I want anything, for myself, I'm going to go and buy it. Right. So I don't need people to give me gifts to go and do that. But if I could do something like that, that would really be meaningful, to me. So I think, you can get a little bit more crafty by thinking of alternatives rather than it's just, okay, here's something, material something, here you go.
Yeah, absolutely. And, that idea on going on a family outing or going on a holiday, that's brilliant. I mean, especially when you're talking about, it doesn't need to be, hey, let's go on an overseas holiday or let's do something extravagant, which is going to cost a lot more than, what you maybe otherwise would have spent on gifts. But you think about, I think about my family, and by the time you look at, mum, dad, my sister, my sister-in-law,
43
brother-in-law,
grandparents,
kids, all of that stuff. I mean, you're talking about a significant amount of money that you're spending on gifts. And if you just said, hey, let's take, $500 and let's go to a caravan park, or get a cabin or rent an Airbnb or do something for a few days that would otherwise cost you pretty much the same. You drive there, so you're not needing to pay for flights, you're not needing to pay for anything like that. I mean, that would be just a fantastic experience as an alternative. So really great idea on that.
One of the ones that I'm seeing become more and more popular is a Secret Santa, which is good. Chuck a name in a hat, or put everybody's name in a hat, pick them out.
You're so old school, Billy. They've got apps for that these days.
Do they?
Yeah.
So we did Secret Santa for our family. We did it about 5 weeks ago. We did. We put names in literally a hat. I didn't know there was an app.
We did that so my wife's family, we do Secret Santa. There's an app for it. So you draw a name randomly and you're not in the same room, so no one can give it away. We did Secret Santa for my family once, and mum and dad ended up getting everyone gifts. And so we're like, well, this just defeats the purpose. Like now we just feel guilty. So we scrap that idea.
Fair enough. Okay. Didn't know that there was an app. But look, Secret Santa could work well because rather than buying gifts for absolutely everybody, you're just buying it for the person who you pull out of a hat essentially.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. Shop online.
Yes.
I mean, goes to pretty much your, shop on early, shop on the last day idea. But, if you can do it online and you're not necessarily bound by just the price that's in the store on the day, it makes it a lot easier to compare prices, makes it a lot easier to make a bit more of a rational decision rather than, shit, I'm here.
Yep.
I've, took me an hour to find a car park at Chadstone. It's 33 degrees. I'm sweaty, like whatever this will do. It can be one, a more pleasant experience, but two, just mean that, you're making a more rational purchase and you're doing something that one, someone will like more, but also something that, you don't need to overspend on.
The other thing too is you can be really specific with, because you put it in your cart, you can see the price. It's a good way to stick to your budget.
Yeah,
I think. Just be mindful of things like delivery charges and stuff. But the other thing is do it early because we see that with Australia Post and all of the other courier companies that they get really busy and all of a sudden it says 2 to 3 days shipping and then all of a sudden it's like
2 to 3 months.
This is blown out and maybe you miss Christmas.
Yeah, exactly right. Yep, exactly right. Another one which we do with friends is just gifts for the kids. Kids, you can, go buy a toy, buy something that they'll enjoy, $20, $30, and you don't need to necessarily spend a huge amount of money like you would on, maybe an adult. So another thing is just, setting the expectation that, hey, we're only going to buy, gifts for kids this year is another idea as well.
Mm-hmm. Make sure you do your research and compare prices. That's really important because, retailers are pretty crafty these days in terms of their pricing mechanism and, discretionary pricing, and they move it around all the time. So if you are considering a larger purchase for somebody, just keep an eye on that price at certain points in time so you do know what it is that you're paying and what the price of it has been. As an example, I'm in the market for a sort of reasonable size purchase with Black Friday coming up. I've been keeping an eye on the price, and they actually, with this item that I'm looking at, they've moved the price up to now discount it, and this happened all in like a 2-week period.
I love that.
It's smart retailing, right? But my point is, you just need to know your prices. So keep an eye on what that looks like as well too.
Yeah. And look, last one I think is just saying no. It's a really easy time of year to just say yes to, every invitation for drinks or Christmas parties or out to dinners or anything like that. And so I think people are a lot more understanding that, hey, cost of living has gotten more expensive. Things have been a lot tighter for people's household budgets. And so I think people understand when you say, you know what, let's just go for a coffee instead.
Yeah.
Or, it doesn't necessarily need to be a straight no, but looking at other alternatives where, you can do it in a more cost-effective way.
Yeah, completely agree. Love this one. And I think not just for the sake of protecting your wallet. I mean, that's the context of what we're talking about here. But if you think about the impact that these transactions have, saying no, but let's do something else, I think it can lead to a more meaningful interaction and really help you get more so, maybe I'm going completely off topic here, but getting more so into the spirit of Christmas as opposed to just, hey, it's just we're going to eat a whole heap of food, we're going to be stuffed, we're going to be in a food coma for 3 days, and we're going to give people a whole heap of stuff that is going to end up in landfill or recycling. No, let's be a little bit more thoughtful about it and let's do something that's, a lot more beneficial.
Yeah, exactly right. And even, again, we're on a finance podcast here, but I think that it's a pretty taxing time of year. Mm-hmm. I think everyone that I speak to in terms of work, in terms of everything this time of year tends to ramp up because there's this hard deadline at the end of the year. And so when you're then trying to do all of the social stuff and all of the social catch-ups in and amongst this time period as well, it's absolute chaos. And so saying no, not just in the expense side of it and what it's going to do to your back pocket, but also just going into the year a little bit more relaxed, a little less stressed, and not needing to necessarily, need the break at the end of the year, so to speak.
Yeah, no, Andrew, completely agree. Hopefully we did that one a whole heap of justice for our listeners and our viewers. Andrew, good work. Yeah. Merry Christmas.
I was going to say Merry Christmas to everyone. It feels a bit early to be saying it to you.
We're probably going to bring this episode up a little bit so people can benefit from it before they do their Christmas shopping. So Merry Christmas, but just take that message for there'll be a few more episodes after this before so anyway. But no, to our listeners and our viewers, hopefully, like always, you got a whole heap of value out of the podcast and the information today. If you want any more information, reach out to Andrew and myself. We'd be more than happy to have a chat. And subscribe, and we look forward to catching you on the next one.
Thanks very much.
No worries.
Thanks for listening today. If you have any questions on what we talked about or would like to have a chat about your money journey, visit us at 360fs.com.au.
Just a reminder to our listeners that the information contained in this podcast is general in nature and it is not intended as personal recommendations for the audience. Please consider whether the information suits your circumstances before acting on it. This information is provided by Billy Amiridis and Andrew Nicolaou of 360 Financial Strategists Pty Ltd, authorized representatives and credit representatives of AMP Financial Planning.